In this video, we are going to have a look at async and defer keywords in JavaScript. Async and defer are used in script tag in JavaScript, and so like if we are not using that, then also obviously scripts can be embedded. But if we use these keywords async and or deferred, both are not used at one time, but either async or defer, one of them can be used, and then they will have some special meaning. So in order to understand that, let's firstly understand uh, a simple example as earlier where no such keyword was used. So this is index.js, which is embedded in our this is in our index HTML, and in this index.js, let's say nothing is there, just a log, let's say hello is there. Okay, and then we can simply so let's see, yeah, we can simply start it, and then obviously it will be printed. Okay, now let's take a few cases where let's take a bunch of files. So let's take index 1, index 2, index 3, and let's duplicate these files where inside public index.js, let's make it public index 2 and index 3. Okay, and this also let's rename it to index 1. And now all these files, let's say everything prints different things. So it prints hello 1, it prints hello 2, it prints hello 3. Okay, fair enough. Now you can see that if I do npm start, then what is expected? All the three things are imported here, means embedded here in using script tags, and that's why hello 1 2 3 is there. We also saw one case where this thing if this thing is not embedded here, rather it is embedded here just before closing of the body tag, then also it works, right? Yeah, then also it works. But what is the difference between this and this? This means adding the script tag in head and adding the script tag in at the end of the body. The difference is that here the DOM parsing has not been completely done, right? And here the DOM parsing is done, and that's why if you want to, let's say, use query selector or something, or add event listener to some element, you can successfully do it. But what if we can do something like this here only? Is there a way to do that? Okay, turns out that there is, and that's why async and defer keywords are used. But before going into that, let's see one more thing, that async and defer keywords, they don't need to be specified simultaneously at the same time. If both are specified, then async takes precedence in modern browsers. Okay, so if let's say you do both things, then async and defer both you are putting, then async takes preference. And if let's say a browser does not support both these two keywords, let's say they are some older browsers, right? Then both of them will be ignored. And if they, let's say there is some browser which supports defer and does not support async, then obviously defer will be async will be ignored. But mostly if both are supported, then async takes preference. You can see that in can I use,
So can I use has let's say script differ, where you can see that the support for differ attribute in browsers, and uh, uh, script async, which is like support for async attribute for external scripts. Now you can see that, yeah, so for example from for Chrome from 8 version 8 both are supported, but you can see that in Firefox in version 3.5 differ support came, but async support came in 3.6, which means that if you use 3.6, then both async and differ is there, then async will take preference. If you use 3.5 version of Firefox, then async is not supported, only differ is supported. So differ if both you specify both, then differ will be supported, and differ will be used and async will be ignored because it is not understood by the browser, right? If you use something like 3.4 or something, then what will happen is that yeah, both are not supported. So essentially or version 2, then both are not supported, then both will be ignored as it is, and it will behave like normal without these two keywords. So yeah, that is the thing. Uh, but all these what we are talking about is generally only considered when we are specifying our scripts in here, right? So when it is here, then we don't specify async or differ, but when scripts are here, then we may or may not have, let's say, async here or differ here. Okay, let's see the difference first. Earlier we saw that when nothing was there, then 1 2 3, hello 1 2 3, that is the order in which it was printed. Let's print something like this, differ in the index 2. You will see that 1 3 and 2 is printed last. Let's print let's add differ to index 1, then you will see that 2 3 and hello 1 at the last, which means that you can see that this is being whatever whenever you are applying differ, that is being run at the last, right? And why is that? That is because how the differ what differ does is that it differs the execution of this script till HTML, the whole HTML is parsed, right? But this is not done deferred, and that's why this is immediately printed, this is immediately executed, this is immediately executed. But this thing is deferred till the whole HTML is parsed, and that's why firstly index 2 and index 3, which prints hello 2 and hello 3, and then finally index 1 is executed, which prints hello 1, and that's why the order is hello 2, hello 3, and then hello 1. Okay, now let's take all the cases one by one. So if there is no differ or async in the head, so there is no differ or async in the head, so this is the situation, and in the head we are talking about, then the parsing is paused until the script is fetched and executed. Once this is done, then parsing resumes. So when HTML is being parsed, right, as soon as, so let's say HTML is being parsed, as soon as we see some script tag something like this, then the whole HTML parsing is blocked. This script, this file is fetched from the internet, downloaded and executed, and then you go to the next can be HTML, next can be, or like say title or anything, you proceed, and next is again a script tag, then again the same thing is done. But the idea is that the whole HTML parsing stops, it downloads this or fetches this, which it means fetches this and executes this, then only it proceeds with the HTML parsing. That kind of behavior is generally in the earlier versions of browsers, when this thing was differ or async was not supported. And you can understand that is that may not be what you want, right? You, because that will unnecessarily delay the UI for the user. Because let's say you are adding some event listeners, or setting some environment which is not specific to the UI, then you are unnecessarily blocking the view for the user, and you are delaying it, because whatever the time is taken to download and execute, that might be that much time might be reduced from the first painting which is done to the user, right? So overall the idea is something like this, that the HTML is parsing. As soon as I encounter any script tag in the head which is not having keyword async or defer, then it stops parsing the HTML. It fetches the script, whatever the script is there, it fetches that file, which means it downloads the file, and then it executes also the file. Until it is downloading and executing, your HTML parsing is stopped, and then wherever the HTML parsing is stopped, from there it again resumes the HTML parsing, which means that from the next tag again the things again start, and if this is again a script tag, then again the same thing will continue, and then everything is done, then again the rest of the things continue. So this is what it looks like, and in synchronous manner in the sense that in the same order, like one after the another, in the same manner in which the scripts are there, in that same manner this is downloaded and executed while the parsing is stopped. That is the default behavior when no such keyword or async or defer is used. Now what happens is that now this beautiful graphics is provided in this website, which is actually an excellent resource also on JavaScript async defer. So if you want, you can go to this website, and this is like an excellent resource, flaviocopes.com/JavaScript async defer. So you can if you have time, you can go through it, and it might give you some more insights, but these beautiful images are taken from there only. So you can clearly see the difference when nothing, no defer or keyword is used, just normal script tag is used without any such keyword. Now let's take the same example where the thing is no difference async keyword is used, but that is not in the head, but rather we are using that at the end of the body. Then the parsing is done without any pauses, and when it finishes, the script is fetched and executed, something like this, which means that my HTML is passed, and then at the end, when HTML is completely parsed, so let's say I move this thing to here, right? Then as we saw earlier that the behavior was 2, 3 and 1. So essentially what is happening is that the whole HTML is parsed, and then index 1 is downloaded. So if you want to see, you can go to the network tools, and you can see that index 2, index 3, and then index 1 is triggered. Okay, now once this index 1 is triggered, then it is fetched, and once it is downloaded, then it is executed. So when it finishes, then the script is fetched and executed. So that is what and that's why if you don't want, if you have things which are we are independent of this HTML, then why to wait for its execution in order to show this, in order to complete the parsing of HTML. That is the thing. But you can see one thing, that we are also downloading the file after the HTML is parsed, right? We don't want to execute it, right? Because executing will take some time, and why we need to execute it before just this thing is we are done with this parsing HTML, right? So that the view can be easily given to the user. But we can also see that if this file is, let's say, pretty large, let's say 200 KB, 300 KB, 500 KB, then The downloading will also take time, and once this is done, then the downloading starts, and that is unnecessary, right? That is unnecessary. uh, most of the computers today are multi-core, and though JavaScript is not does not support multi-core, uh, but we don't need two threads for executing JavaScript, right? What we are doing, we are just trying to download this thing, right? And downloading, as you can see that as you can know that the fetch of in HTTP2, there can be multiple parallel fetches apart from the execution which is going on in some other thread, which means that while the parsing of HTML is going on, we can parallelly in some other thread, the not we, actually the browser can parallelly fetch the script and be ready with it, which means it has already downloaded it, but it executes it just after that thing. So that is one way where it can be optimized, right? So earlier this thing used to work fine. So if we want it to execute in between, then we put it here. We don't want to execute it at the end, then we put it here. But now using defer and async, we are trying to do something like this. Now what is the difference between async and defer? So first of all, this thing is again this you can again go here for reference, and the script, we can observe here that the script is not even downloaded till HTML parsing is done. That is not what we want, and for that we come up with async and defer. So let's see firstly async. When async is used in the head, which means that, let's say this thing is not here, this thing is here, and let's say we put async keyword, right? Then what is happening is that the script is fetched asynchronously, and when it's ready, you can see that the as soon as we get this thing, so as soon as we get index like this async thing, right, then parsing is not stopped. Parsing is not stopped. What happens, that parsing is continuing, and here like let's say some other meta tags or something is there, right? That will or some link tag, whatever whatever the thing is, that whatever things are there, that will keep on executing. The parsing is not stopped, and as soon as the script is downloaded, again immediately it is executed. So you understand that uh, I'm not saying that the whole parsing will be done and then it will be executed. It is not that. It's just that downloading has been parallelized, and as soon as it is available, then we are executing that. Now again, this may not be the thing which you want, right? So if you run this thing, then you can see that 1 2 3 you are getting, right? So yeah, it is immediately around, but every time you are again you are refreshing, then you see that 2 1 3 you are getting. So basically, yeah, 2 is executed, and by that time this thing is downloaded, then that's why 2, then this 1, and then 3. And it might be like something like 2 3 1 also is possible. Sometimes you can see that 2 3 1 is also possible. So now you can see that it can be 1 2 3, it can be 2 1 3, it can be 2 3 1, anything can be there, right? So we are not guaranteed with any such behavior, right? The only idea is that we are just continuing, and whenever the script is available for the execution, then we execute it. But again, while executing, we have to pause the HTML parsing, and then it is executed, and then the parsing resumes. So this is async in head. Again, async or defer we want to use only in head, not in body, right? So mainly it is used for head only. So let's now see defer in head. When we use defer, then what happens, that the script is fetched asynchronously, and it is not executed immediately. It is we wait till the HTML parsing is done, and then only it's executed. So something like this. As soon as we encounter the script, it is downloaded, but not executed as soon as it is downloaded. It is waiting for the whole HTML parsing to be done, and then it is executed. This is ideally what we want, because this will be like the most fastest one. Why? Because we don't want to wait for HTML parsing anybody to interrupt it. But after that, as soon as we are done, we are ready for execution, because by that time we have already fetched the script, and we don't because why to wait for downloading thing to happen if it can be done parallelly, right? And as soon as the HTML parsing is done, immediately the thing is executed. So this is like, as you can see, this is like the behavior when we put the script at the end of the body tag, but it's faster, because when we put at the end, then after the parsing was done, then script was fetched, and then script was executed. Here the script is already fetched, right? It is faster because the script has been downloaded in parallel with HTML parsing, and just the executing is done. But the behavior will be same as we put at the end of the script, at the end of the body tag. That behavior exactly will be there, because HTML parsing is done, and then execution is done there. Execution of the script is there, and there also the same thing was there, but it is slightly faster because of the parallelization of the downloading. Okay, so now let's take example of that also. So instead of that, let's do defer. Now if we use defer, then it is not happening like 1 2 3 can happen, 2 1 3 can happen, 2 3 1 can happen. All the three were possible that time, right? Now if we use defer, and now we refresh, then we will see that 2 3 1 2 3 1, like every time it is guaranteed that it will be 2 3 1 only. Why? Because 2 3 is like obviously in that order it is there, that's why it will be executed. But 1 we are saying that it will be executed in the end. In the end means when the whole HTML parsing is done, then only it will be executed. That when in case of async, we are not guaranteeing that. That's why even if as soon as this is executed and this is downloaded, that's why there only be executed, and that's why that jumbling ordering was coming, right? Here we are guaranteed that the whole HTML will be passed, then only it will be executed, and that's why every time 231 is coming. Okay, now let's see a few example of differences between async and defer. We saw that order of execution, right? So async blocks the parsing of the page, while defer does not. That is obvious, right? While defer does not block parsing, defer waits for the whole HTML parsing to be done, and that's why the ordering what we saw, that is coming. That is obvious. Now script marks async are executed in the order in which they become available for execution. You understand? Now scripts marked defer are executed in the order in which they are defined in the markup. This is important. This is important, which means that if this is async, and let's say this is also async, then what is happening is that obviously both will be tried to be run in the async mode, which means that both will be downloaded, and as soon as they are available, they will be executed. Which means that, let's say this file is bigger and this file is smaller. So index 1 is tried to be downloaded, and it is bigger, so it's keeps on downloading, and by that time index 2 downloading starts. And why index 2 downloading starts? Because async does not stop the HTML parsing, right? When it is downloaded, then it will stop the parsing and it will execute. But right now it is not it is not executed. It is not. So you can see here. You can see here that right now it is just parallelly downloading, not executing. But if the second one is shorter, then it will be also parallelly started, and it will be completed before the first one, let's say, right? In that case, you might have the scenario where 2 is executed 1 2 is executed before one is executed, right? Because it is shorter, it is smaller file. As soon as it is downloaded, it is executed, because that is the way it is. As soon as it is downloaded, it is executed. So if you run this piece of code, then you will see that you are getting 3 1 2. Okay, that is fine. You are getting 1 3 2. So you can see that uh, uh, 3, and after that 1 2 is coming in any order. Now not only that, you can see that yeah. So right now both the files are similar size, with their downloaded at one time, but that does not that might not be always the case, right? And the same thing will be applied when you, let's say, you put it somewhere else. Doesn't matter, right? You can see that the relative ordering of 3 is immaterial. You can see, right? 3 is coming anywhere, right? In fact, 1 and 2 ordering can also be jumbled, means 2 can come before 1 also. You can see this is one example where 2 is printed before 1. And that's why, and that's because just both are triggered, but let's say because of some small timing issue, uh, this is downloaded first, and that's why you can see that we cannot guarantee that among all the async scripts what is the ordering. The relative ordering of async 1 and 2, it is sometimes 1 and 2, and sometimes it is 2 and 1. Right now it is 2 and 1, and here it is 1 and 2. So that's what we were saying, that the relative ordering in which they are executed is not guaranteed, right? But the scripts which are marked as defer, they are definitely executed in the order in which they are defined in the markup, which means that if I use defer, then as soon as the whole script is completed, then only then only this 1 and 2 will be executed, right? Which means that it is guaranteed that 3 will be printed first. There cannot be any jumbling. 3 has to come first, because this is defer, which means that it will be executed at the end. By that time, definitely this thing is executed. You can understand that even if it is here, then also the same thing. It is guaranteed that even if it is like this, it is guaranteed that by the time defer is executed, this thing is definitely printed. And then relative ordering of 1 and 2, both are downloaded, that is fine. Both are downloaded, that is fine. And if let's say index 1 is bigger, right, and then it is being downloaded, and index 2 download has completed, then also it will wait for index 1 download to complete after the parsing of HTML. Let's say by that time it has not been downloaded, then also it will wait, because defer has to follow the order in which it is defined. So index 2 cannot be executed before index 1 is executed, and that's why it will wait for that. And that's why you will see that the order will be always 3 1 2, irrespective of where defer is defined. Okay, so yeah, that is an important one. Apart from that, since defer is executed after HTML parsing, something like document query selector, document get element by ID, these things will now have proper expected elements, right? So earlier we saw that. So let's say only one example. So firstly, let's see when we don't do that. So let's say there is some ID is equal to hello. ID is equal to hello, right? Now this hello ID, I want to target this element. I want to just, let's say, get the reference of that element. Now in the first index.js, in the index.js file, uh, let's comment this, and let's try to get that element and print that element. So el is equal to document dot get element by ID. You can use, or hash query selector you can use, but I'm trying to just get the reference and print the element. You can see what happens, that it is null, right? But the same thing, if I take this
right, and add it here, right, then you can see that I'm getting properly that element, and that is because you know that by this time the HTML parsing is done. That's why it is giving us the element. And when we are doing here, then index, then HTML parsing is not done, and that's why it is returning null. But if we provide differ, which means that even if it is defined inside head, this script is defined inside head, and this index 1 is downloaded and all, everything is done, but since this is defer, this will not be executed until HTML parsing is done. And when HTML parsing is done, and by that time all these things are already understood by the HTML parser, right, that where div is there with HTML ID or something. So when you run that, then you will see that even it is here, without defer keyword it was giving null, but with defer keyword, if you run the same piece of code, then you will see that you are still getting the div element perfectly. Okay, so you can clearly see that you are getting a div element perfectly. Okay, yeah, and you can do the same thing with you can do the same thing with query selector also, right? But can we do the same thing with async keyword? Can we guarantee the same thing with async keyword? You see, the problem with async keyword is that as soon as it is downloaded, it is executed, which means that it might be executed here only. So we cannot guarantee that that element will be available, because it is not executing at the end. And that's why if I use async, then sometimes it might be null, sometimes it might be getting the element. So you can see that right now it is null, and you can see that sometimes it is getting the element. So obviously this if you want to do something like that, then you use defer rather than async. See, async can be something like just uh, it is just adding something to, let's say, global variable, and you don't care that when it is added, right, just it is used later. But if your piece of code is dependent on HTML parsing, and you are executing on something which is dominated, then obviously for those things defer will be better. Apart from that, defer gives a more predictable behavior also. Apart from that, defer also gives the execution order is also correct, right? So you can understand that async and defer both have different purposes, and based on the execution, you have seen that async like parallelizes the thing, but as soon as it is available, it is executed. But you can clearly see that the defer is generally the winning solution in terms of speed and in terms of predictability also. So when two keywords are there, by default, if you want to simply do the optimization and that too in a predictable way, then you simply use defer. So that is the best use, right? Async, you just try to avoid using async. However, if you understand how async works, and you are not you don't want, your requirement is not that your HTML parsing should be completed before it is before that is executed. If your requirement is not that, then you can use async also, but firstly you should understand that what is async. Okay, but the best behavior can be use something like this. And again, since you are using defer, then you can use that whole script inside head only, right? Because no need to put it at the end of the body or something, because inside head only, even if you put, then also it will be downloaded parallelly, and it will be executed at the end when the whole HTML parsing is done. So that is all. Hope you have understood what is async and defer, and then going forward you can use this appropriately for your various development purposes. That's all. Thank you.